Well, good afternoon, YouTube. I watched a video the other day. I took some notes. This video will be a response to ENVIROSPONCIBLE. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And his video was entitled, "Is Prepping Stupid?" Well, let's start off with his statement right off the bat that he used to be an extreme person, but now he considers himself a moderate. Or more moderate than he was. Well, I'm going to first answer the first question. Is prepping stupid? No, it is not. And being a prepper, being a moderate, they are mutually exclusive. Just being a prepper means you are an extreme person, because you plan for the extreme life-altering events. Please don't misunderstand. I'm not prepping for a nuclear holocaust. I'm not prepping for the explosion of the Yellowstone caldera. I'm not prepping for any given event. I am trying to put my family in a position where we can survive no matter what crap hits the fan. So, yes, that is an extreme concept to some people. It's not to me. Okay, he then talks about how his prepping has robbed him of amazing times with his family. Well, Enviro, maybe you should think along the lines, and mind you, I'm not saying I think they're all that same, but think about what that family with the castle on Doomsday Preppers, or was it Extreme Preppers? I forget which show it was he appeared on. He and his family working together to build the castle. Do I think he's totally saying no? Because I've already made it quite clear. The one thing you should never, ever, ever do as a prepper, you should never go on to any media source, TV, cable, YouTube, and show your locker full of guns. Show your bunker full of preps. Only idiots do that. You want to know why? Because even though I go by Embarado Smithing and Woodcraft, I'd be willing to bet that within 10 miles of me, there are thousands of people who know this mug. Now, if I were to come on here and show you all of my guns and all of my stored food and so on, show you my bug out sites, there are going to be people out there who don't prep but watch YouTube for the entertainment value. And all through this current time, the pre-apocalypse, they're laughing at us. They think it's funny. But when the crap comes down and they're sitting there hungry and their bellies are grumbling and growling, they're going to say, "Hey, Martha, do you remember so-and-so on YouTube? Had all those preps he was showing, all that stored rice and beans. Get my gun, we're going shopping." That's exactly what's going to happen to those who open up their home and show you all their preps. I promise you it will. When the crap really comes down. So, do you have to be an extremist when it comes to prepping? You betcha. And he's worried about all the doom and gloom. I saw this doom and gloom coming in 1960. And people told me I was absolutely nuts. Everything I've told people since then has come to pass. Almost all of it. But enough of it has come to pass that people should be considering me a prophet. Because I've predicted all that has come and gone, and stuff yet to come. Then he was talking about silver versus greenbacks. Well, while greenbacks still have some currency value at the moment, I think it's about 21 cents as compared to dollars from 1900. I think it's about 21 cents. You see, in 1900, we were on what was called the gold standard. And then come around the First World War, the government moved us off gold and onto silver. This is why we had something called the silverback, the silver certificates. Okay? Because each note was backed by that many dollars worth of silver. And then about the time NAM came around, we went on to the cardboard standard. You know what your dollar's standard basis is now? Toilet paper. Yeah, I said it. We're on the toilet paper standard. And the tube is mighty empty. So silver is definitely something he should be stacking. I'm not saying he should be buying these $40 and $50 silver bullion coins. Try junk silver. That's what I do. I put up one video that showed just a portion of my silver putbacks. They're not fancy, but they're there. Silver coins that are actually mostly silver, such as Kennedy halves, 1964 and older. And the before Kennedy halves existed, the Franklin halves, 64 and older. Or was Franklin the silver dollar? Well, whatever. Okay, these are 80 to 90% silver coins. And then you have after 64 and before 70, I don't know, 72, 74, they're only 40% silver. Mercury dimes. Crying out loud, even the penny is worth more weight-wise. Prior to 72, 74, I don't have the exact date handy. Because it's almost 100% copper. These are the things you should be putting away for when the crap hits the fan. Because the greenback, the paper money, it's only going to have one use. And that's when you go to the bathroom. That's all it'll be worth. Okay, should he be worried about things outside the sphere of his own influence? Most indubitably. Tell me something, Enviro. Are you able to influence the workings of the U.S. government at all? I think not. Not solely of your own accord. Well, guess what? That's where the crap is going to come from when the crap hits the fan. When the government collapses into the drool of its own nervous breakdown because of its current spending policies, that's who's going to cause the crap storm right there. As things are looking at the moment, if they continue the way they're going. Now, updating your first aid, CPR, etc. Well, that's all well and good if you're interested and concerned with not being sued in the current climate. Keeping your certifications current will keep you from being sued if you perform any of these for services for people today. But once we get into a grid down, government collapse, nobody's going to give a damn if your CPR is less than a year old. Should you know first aid? Should you know CPR? Yes, you should. But once we get into that grid down, once we get into that crap hitting the fan phase, nobody's going to ask for your certificate. Nobody's going to ask you when it expired. They're going to be happy as hell that you know how. Now, all I consider updating your first aid and CPR certificates for, being good for, is the practice, to keep in practice. There is a good point to them. Understand me clearly. Then he talks about hordes of zombies. I'm not a big believer in zombies. I think what you're going to end up facing ain't going to be zombies, but roving hordes of gangs. Lawlessness. Just like what went down on the streets in the 60s. The gangs were out knifing each other. Gang war, that kind of thing. Only this time, they're not going to gang up against each other. They're going to try coming after us. Because they're going to want to eat. Now, I can't put it any plainer than this in ENVIROSPONCIBLE. And it really don't matter what other people think about what you're doing. It really only matters what you think about what you're doing. Okay? Now, I've given you my viewpoints based on what you had to say. Does it cover everything I do? No. So let me give you a brief outlook on and I mean a brief outlook on the plans of Embarado Smithing and Woodcraft. And I'm going to once again steal a line from another tuber. I will give her credit. She's the only person I've ever heard say it. And that would be Wilderness Gal. The lightest kit you will ever carry is knowledge. Now, I've always known this to be a fact, but I've never used that saying until recent days. Because I just never thought of it in those terms. As far as having a saying to cover it. But since 1960, it has been my plan and intention to learn everything I can learn from any place I can learn it. And in turn, pass it on to others who don't know this knowledge. This is why I know how to blacksmith. This is why I know how to at least make minor repairs on cars. This is why I know about gardening and farming and wild animals and trapping for food and for fur. This is why I know how to hunt. This is why I know so much about so many different topics. I started in the prepping world before there was a term prepping. And learning everything. My mantra was, don't let a day go by that you don't learn something new. It's that simple. Try to learn something new every day. 2 or 3 if you can manage it. Because knowledge really is the lightest thing you will ever carry. It's all right inside here. Believe it or not, I once saw a time where I was tossed out on my ear at the end of October, 26th to be precise, my birthday. And it had just snowed a blizzard when I was 16. All I had on me when I left the house was my winter parka, 2 pair of pants, 2 shirts, and I had a backpack that had about a 2-day food supply that I could eat cold right out of the cans. I had me a pretty decent hunting knife, a .22 rifle, and about 30 rounds of ammo. That's it. In the middle of a freaking blizzard, I got booted out the door by my old man. I survived for 6 months on nothing more than what I took out of the house that day. Because I went back when they weren't there, and I picked up my traps. And I went back and I picked up the rest of my gear that I could use to provide for myself food. I begin digging up wild edibles from under the snow of the blizzard, harvesting wild carrot, and so on. I've been doing this for a very long time. People gave me a hard time about what I know. Well, that's your choice. I'm also going to borrow a line from another tuber now. And this would be cover and sustenance. Because he's got it right. If you don't want to survive, don't listen to me. He's got that right. Now, I won't say that everything cover and sustenance has to say is up my alley. But I listen to what he has to say, and maybe I can pull something from it. It's that simple. That's all I got to say for now, so peace out.